Hello, welcome to Tender Logic. My name is Navjeet Kandola, and today I am very excited to share a wonderful person that I have not met before, but I know of, and have met various people that know her. But what is so fantastic about this conversation that we're going to have today, it has to do with integration. All of us can have ideas about our bodies, our sexuality, what we're eating, but the person that we're going to talk to today is really a model of that integration. That the idea here is to integrate all these different aspects of our consciousness, our physicality, our sexuality, our emotionality, in the way that we eat, move, think, and be. She is called Karina Velasco, and she is a wonderful person. She was born in Mexico but has traveled the world. She has the kind of beginnings that most people often dream about, being born into an environment of media, TV, celebrity, spirituality. It was kind of like a perfect home and an environment to be born into. And out of that, she has created her own voice and her own vision. So welcome to Future Ready Visionaries for New Tomorrow's Karina.
Hi, how are you? I'm so excited to be here and to finally meet you.
Yes, likewise.
It's like all this tribe that we're like in spirituality and like conscious living. It's like we're soul sisters, soul friends, and we're meeting each other in different moments in the life. So it's always interesting how it's a small world after all.
Yeah, it's a small world, and there's a part of me that is just, my heart and my being is very jubilant in the very clear recognition of who you are. It's not a shock or a surprise to see you. I feel like I already know so much about you, and I think it's thrilling that you have let us have your being be present for this summit, so that all of us can get to hear your story from you. Would you mind starting by telling us a little bit about your journey into empowerment through food, yoga, and sexuality? Let's just start with the juicy stuff. How did you begin?
Well, I began when I was, like you said, I grew up in that environment of spirituality. So since I'm like 3 years old, I'm like doing headstands with my father in the garden. He was a yogi and really got into meditation, Vipassana, Buddhism, and, more like the spiritual like philosophies. And I grew up towards that. And, when you're growing in that spiritual world for a moment, that rebel of mine, the tantrika, was like, no, like, I don't want to go and meditate. Like, I want to rock and roll. So I just disassociated myself a little bit from my spirituality. And when I was around like 18, I don't know, I think it's something like we're really channels of spirits. And there's something that was just like a wisdom that was there for me, that people were like always like, how do I eat healthier and what do I do and exercise? Because I grew up like that, eating healthy foods and doing yoga and meditating. So I always like started to coach like my friends, and one day, in my 20s, I was like, no, it's like I want to go to India and like really train to be a yoga instructor. So I went to Shivananda Ashram in India in 2001. And then I finished my training in Kitzbühel, Austria. And then I came back to Mexico and I was like, okay, now I can share with you properly. Or I still call it teach. Now I can teach you properly. So I started more like into yoga and like got more into nutrition and went into a depression. And I was like, I don't feel good with my body. I had all those issues, which I talk about in my book, The Art of Healthy Living. It's like, I'm feeling fat, I work in media, I always have to be thin, I have to be dieting, and there was like always this struggle of non-acceptance towards my body, that I decided like, wow, that there has to be something deeper going on here. So I went like into starting to be a natural food chef, and to be a health coach at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And that's where I noticed it was like, wow, it's not just that diets don't work. It's not about that. Like there's issues, there, but let's start with the diets.
Right.
That's how I started with nutrition. It was like sort of like the first step from from spirituality to grounding in your body and healing your body and healing your self-image issues.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I got passionate. It's like, wow, like really embodying that and shifting in my own transformation, like all those tools the school gave us, And that's where I was like, wow, this helped me so much. I want to share it through a book.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the idea of creating my first book.
Right.
But then I wasn't complete,
There's more.
I'm a seeker. So I was like, yeah, this food thing, I nailed it. Like I've been like vegan, raw. I tried everything. I've been eating super healthy for the last 6 years. I'm having like my green smoothie right now. I'm like, I got it. But I was like, the healing's not complete here. It's just not about the body and not about the yoga and meditation. So I was like, wow, I've always been like a very sexual being. So what else can I do with that energy? So I went into Tantra, and that, connection with the Tantra and like grounding myself and getting myself into my body and getting into myself, into my heart and my emotions, and that sacred union of my energies, the yin yang, the masculine energy, sort of like brought all the integration together of my spirituality, of my physicality, of my emotional, peace, and from my grounding and my sexuality. And that's why I really began to understand that in my spiritual path, for me, it was always rather like do this or that. And that was a puzzle that put everything together. It was like, wow, it's not only about eating healthy or doing exercise or meditating or having good emotional intelligence, or good sexuality. It's about everything. Because when I put everything together, it supports, each piece supports the other piece to make you like a whole, like become a whole being, wholeness.
Fantastic. So let's talk with the food. Would you like to start with the yoga first or with the food conversation? I want to follow the journey that you went. So how was it for you to recognize, okay, I want to go to India to train and become a yoga teacher, so I can really understand it? Like, what was from being involved in media, and let's just let our viewers know that your father is the wonderful Raul Velasco, who is, for me, the Oprah, pre-Oprah days, the Oprah of Latin American spiritual TV. Maybe you can add more to that, but I mean, he was a big influence in the media in terms of bringing the kind of quality and caliber to television.
Yeah, I actually had a TV show for 30 years, which was more like Ed Sullivan. But in his last years, I mean, he grew up, like since I was born and raised, like he was a yogi, he was eating healthy foods. He was a very conscious being. I can actually call him right now an alchemist. He really knew how to contain and move energy. And you could see that because he had shows with 80,000, 100,000 people. So containing the energy of that people is like, oh, you must know something. So I grew up in that space, and I began my career also in television when I was 17. So it was like a non-stop, like very masculine, like driven career, which I love. And to the date, still I do like 3-4 shows in my network, red carpet and stuff, which I have fun with. And but then there was this moment, where I wasn't feeling totally fulfilled. I was like, what is really lacking in myself? Because I'm 24 years old. I'm having the best. I had like a show, in Prime TV, my own show. I had a radio show at the same time. I was a host for E! Entertainment Latin America. It was like everything was good, no boyfriends, that's always been like a little tricky in my life. But I was like really happy. And I was doing yoga. I was doing a lot of Ashtanga yoga at the moment. And one day, out of the nowhere, I just woke up and I was like, I need to quit.
Mm-hmm.
I need to quit everything and just leave.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that exact moment. I want to fine tune it and massage it. Was it a point of clarity and then, oh my God, how am I going to do it? Because a lot of people can get to that realization, okay, I need to change, I'm going to do something. How were you able to take the inspiration and marry it to actual action? That that you said, okay, I'm going to leave this media life as I know it, because there's a physiological, almost, we can become addicted to that kind of adrenaline rush, success and movement. How were you able to kind of move into a very different way of being and kind of embarking on a journey that was going to trigger different systems and awarenesses in you?
I think for me the trick was I didn't think about it. My mind was not there. I just felt moved, by a bigger force.
Right.
My heart was excited.
Yeah.
And my my body was like shaking and exciting and passion, and like I knew there was something there for me.
Right.
That. And also I didn't let myself run by fear, because like for a moment I remember my dad is like, you're going to leave and you're going to lose everything and coming back, it's hard. I was like, I'm leaving anyway.
Right.
So if that means I'm not coming back in TV, it's because I have a higher purpose.
Right. So that's a really great point, to not let fear make the decision for you, to not let fear influence that inspiration, that ahas arising. Just allow it to move you forward and not let your mind interfere.
Exactly, and just be okay with uncertainty and be okay with taking a risk.
Yeah.
And being okay with also taking responsibility. That whatever happens
right
afterwards,
yeah,
it's a choice. You cannot blame it on anybody else, which I did. I came back, and it took me a while to get back into media, and I was blaming, it's like, oh, they forgot, and I was blaming all the others, and I went into a depression. I had to go through the whole thing, so now I tell you, it's like...
Now we can laugh about it.
Exactly, now I can laugh about it, but I went deep, into my depression, and just like, suddenly, like, from becoming a superstar, let's say in media, and then being in India, which is magical, for like 9 months, and then coming back and nobody wants to hire me, and just, dealing with all rejection.
I think that's part of that, we get on that pendulum swing of when we say yes and we're moving, and it feels like we're moving towards purpose, and then we have to come back and integrate it in all the areas where we were not happy in the first place. We have to bring that knowledge and awareness and all that we've learned. Talk a little bit about what the depression taught you and how you learned to move through that. How were you able to frame it or reframe it so that you could actually move through it and find purpose again, connect to yourself again?
Yeah, I mean, that depression for me taught me, I think, a lot of being humble.
Mm-hmm.
Because I grew up, like, in the starlight.
Yes.
So even if my father was very grounded and spiritual, there were moments where I lost groundness, and I was a little bit like, oh yeah, I'm like the superstar, and I've never made a line, I never waited in a restaurant ever in my life.
Right.
So suddenly, it's like I moved to Canada for 1.5 years, and I was just another blonde girl, who was going to auditions and getting rejected, like in casting after casting. Like, you have a lot of accent and you're Mexican, but you look like German, like we don't get you, and I'm dealing with all that, and just being, just for me it was like humble, like being really, really humble. And also tuning into my fears, because sometimes when you grow up so protected, in the media, and in a way it's like a superficiality that sort of like clouds you from reality. That for me was like, wow, this is real, and I do get sad, and I don't like this about me. and like really discovering also my shadow. I think that was like big for me.
So would you say the depression almost helped you to shed a veil that separated you from a certain reality?
Yes.
And then allowed you to have your feet back on the ground in a way?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that you could actually grow taller and have that height instead of floating up to that height. That you actually feet on the ground, but you're connecting to the stars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not just like in the stars. Yeah.
And so what would you say is, because some people just want that kind of experience of not having to wait in line, always getting the best table at the restaurant, being recognized, being celebrated, being seen and kind of watched and be seen in the magazines and the premieres and everything. What would you say to those people who are just thinking, that's what I want, that's important to me? And especially women, let's say, because we're talking about women.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it feels great. I'm not gonna say it's not, First of all, and it's great to be, in a way acknowledgeable and desired.
Yes.
But it's like for me, just like how I approach that. It's like now I'm back in the media, and that's starting to happen again in Mexico.
Right.
But it's like, just first of all, being humble.
Right.
Second of all, knowing this is a game.
Right.
It's a game, and just like, how can I use that opportunity of those people who are serving me? Because I feel that happens a lot of in the celebrity. It's like people get a little like wowed by the fame, so they start treating you differently.
Right.
So why can I do that instead of abusing or taking advantage of those people like Paris Hilton and a lot of like, like teenage stars do? Instead of like, abusing that power, it's like, how can I take advantage of that situation to share something or uplift that person?
Right.
So still for me, it's like the service, and for me, the meaning of fame shifted so much, because for me, fame wasn't really a big issue because I always was famous in a way. Because why do I want to have fame? Is it like for the satisfaction of my ego? And to feel that things are easier in my life? Or that's just like not real. It's like an instant gratification, like, like, oh, you didn't make a line, but then you go back home and you're like having all this emotional things.
You still have to deal with you. There's no paparazzi inside that's going to say you're great. Instead, you've got to deal with all the shadow, the darkness, the doubt.
Yeah, so that's an escapism. So for me, it's like I really enjoy fame right now. First, because I can be in touch with the people.
Right.
How can I serve? How can I spread my message? It's like I want to go to a party where I know there's going to be photographers, because I want people to eat like green smoothies. It's not because like I want to be
they
like... They
need to see your face, but it's about the service. Yeah.
Exactly. Like for me, that's overrated. That's like 80s.
Yeah.
and that's like when I'm really valuing a lot of people. It's like every time I see more people that are conscious, and they're there and they're like in magazines, but they always manage a way to spread a message.
Right.
That's why social media is so important, and it's also shifting.
Yeah.
It's like before you needed other media to spread your message. Now you don't.
Yeah, fantastic. So talking about the idea of not needing the media, but being able to be of service and connecting to people, and talking about the green smoothie. So let's talk a little bit about the food component of the journey, and how we were just talking earlier before we started recording about how, if we don't have the food, the nutrients in our bodies, we can't necessarily build positive lifestyles or positive futures. So talk about the relevance and importance of healthy diet, healthy bodies through food.
Well, food is amazing, starting with the energetics of food. Food, it's grown in the earth, it's grown, in the trees, it's grown in the water. So, with every element and every modality the food is grown, it has different energies that are going to nourish our body. You know, it's like the energy of the moon and the energy of the sun. We have that also in nutrition, you know, because like nutrition is just an continuation of the universe, you know, of the theory of expansion and contraction of the Big Bang. You know, alkaline and acidity, you know, it's like the both polarities we need in order to survive, the shadow, the light.
Right.
You know, the anger and the happiness.
Right. So what do you think, you know, because there's a lot of concern about GMOs in terms of food and the soil quality. What would you say, because we're talking about, you know, I want to really kind of focus on the future. What would be a positive future that you could envision in terms of food? What would you like to see happen so that, you know, not just as we're talking, as people listen and watch these interviews, I would love to see some visions of food prosperity, food wellness, so that the struggle and the ignorance is not part of the future. What kind of visions of future do you have that would be positive?
Well, I feel it's like, let's say you have an apartment building. You create a community garden.
Right.
You know, which it's like when you were younger. I don't know if you remember, you went to school and you had to do the exercise of doing like your little bean and let the bean grow.
We have one growing in our house. That. Yes.
Exactly. So it's the appreciation and the energy you put into your food. So if every single person grown their own food, and especially for me, it's also about community, you know, permaculture, sustainability. It's like teaming up together. You cannot do everything alone.
Right.
So let's create teams, you know, and make our own garden and share.
Right.
You know, and trade. Maybe I have the best carrots and you have like the best Brussels sprouts, you know, like give me some Brussels sprouts and I give you some carrots, you know, and trading. And with all those GMOs, I think it's just like around like factory farming. And a lot of people ask me, is this eating meat good or bad? Or dairy good or bad? It's not that it's good or bad, it's the way things are happening. The things are getting processed. And that's why after the 50s, you know, there's more and more like cancer. Because before the 50s, you know, like eating meat was a treat.
Right, exactly.
It was once a week. You know, or eating sugar, it was a treat. You gave your kids sugar like maybe on Sunday.
If that.
Right? Exactly. But right now it's an everyday life. Right. So how can we shift? You know, it's also, I feel there's like a bigger conspiracy in that sense, you know, like the government and the corporations. They want you, you know, to be not healthy.
But why do you think they want us to not be healthy? Is it all about profit and kind of quick?
I think it's about profit. I think it's when you're not healthy, you don't have clarity of mind, you don't have energy, you don't have creative energy, you're not so much in your power. Right. So what happens when you start eating healthy? You know, if you have a green smoothie every morning, that's going to shift. You're going to be energized, more efficient, you're going to rejuvenate, you're going to have creative ideas, you're going to be in your power.
So what's in your smoothie that you're drinking right now?
Wow, this is quite a smoothie. I put there some almond milk. I put some bananas, some berries. I have like this green powder with spirulina, wheatgrass, some broccoli powder. And then I put some maca powder, which is like good for like stamina. And then I put also like another formula called Immortal Machine, which has like different like mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms, and shea seeds. And what did I end it up? Oh, and I put some hemp seeds.
So that kind of a smoothie, we'll see, it's like a meal, really.
It is like a meal because that's a beauty, you know, that's a beauty. It's not only about eating fruits and vegetables. It's like the power of superfoods and super herbs. And the superfoods, they're foods like they're very dense in nutrients. So if you have this, it's equivalent to having like 2 plates of broccoli. You know, so maybe you don't have time to do broccoli. So just create your own smoothie in the morning with a couple of spoons. That a lot of people are like, well, Karina, but it's expensive. First of all, that's what you're going to save in health insurance. And second of all, it's your meal.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's good because then when you have like this is my breakfast or my like midday snack. And if
Right,
I'm still hungry, I get some almonds or like I munch on some like blueberries.
right.
But this is my main, it's all about the shift about like liquid nutrition.
Yeah. Well, I think
Having
also, what you're talking about there, it's a consciousness shift in terms of not only what are we eating and what are we putting in our bodies, but it also means there's going to have to be a consciousness shift in that how to create that access so that you don't have to say it's so expensive, that we can begin to open ourselves and eating well is one of the things that allows us to open because we're not on survival mode. The body isn't having to fight toxins and pollutants to just maintain itself. I think that it's a holistic conversation.
Yeah, it is a conversation, especially what you say about the survival mode.
Yeah,
Because it's not only food, it's like our emotional and our reptilian brain. So
yeah,
what happens also, it's like I might be eating very, very well, but if I'm not aware of how my reptilian, like brain is activated and fight, flight, freeze, like all those reactions and learn how to have an emotional intelligence, it's like I might be eating very well, but if my body's under stress, if
right,
my nervous system is overactivated, also the capacity of your body to absorb all the nutrients, it's not the same.
exactly,
So that's where yoga comes in, or meditation, when you feel that stillness, that moments of stillness, also that supports all your intestines.
right,
It's like our digestive system, it's in our third chakra.
right,
So if we have, we don't have awareness of our emotional body, or we're not in our power, that debilitates all the villi, which are the little hair that are gonna like absorb all the nutrients.
right. So
Everything's here. That's why there's so many like issues with intestinal problems right
right,
now.
right, and depression and anxiety because it's all stemming from that place in our bodies. I love what you just said. If we don't have stillness, we cannot absorb the nutrients because that part of our body needs stillness, calm to function. Right? And so I love it. And the emotional body is in that chakra. That's where we feel. And so if we're agitated or we're squeezing, then we can't absorb the nutrients even if we are taking the green drinks and so on.
Exactly, and there's a syndrome called the syndrome X,
I don't
which
know.
is like, it's no matter how well I'm eating, I don't feel the benefits, or I don't lose weight, or I don't achieve like more clarity.
Right.
It's so weak, and that's why for me the first step in order to heal anything you have in your body is first the gut.
Yes.
First feel like really, really heal your gut and then go to the next level. Also in detoxing, I'm starting a detox right now, which is like first like my colon cleanse.
Right.
And then I go for the liver and the gallbladder and the whole other like internal organs.
Fantastic.
So it's also, the same with spirituality and awareness. It's like if you don't heal first your emotional body, you might be like super spiritual and meditate 3 hours a day and like be like a pretzel yogi,
Right.
or like the best, like sexual healer or whatever. But if your emotions, if you don't nourish them and you don't embrace them, it's like the gut.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a mess. So how does the gut play into, we're going to just kind of slide into Tantra now. How does the gut play a role in Tantra? Because Tantra is about desire, feeling, it's kind of well, I want you to talk about it. I have my own ideas, but I'd love to hear your ideas. What is Tantra and the different levels of it? Through the body, through the emotions.
It's the weaving of the different energies. Tantra is like the sacred union of the feminine and masculine. So that means we all, women and men, have different energies. We have the mother archetype, the sister, the priestess, the maiden. We have like the king, the prince, the boy. So we have both energies, the masculine and feminine, and it's about like creating a space so they can work together. So Tantra is about also saying yes to life. It's there's like a lot of misunderstanding around Tantra that's just about sexuality and just becoming better lovers. For me, that's just like the little cherry on top.
Right.
Because it's not really about that. It's
Right.
like really like if I embrace myself fully, if I understand all my emotions, if I understand the energetics of my body and how the energy moves and how when I don't have any shame, fear, around my sexuality, I can really use that energy not just for like procreation or recreation, but for like healing my emotional body, healing my abandonment issues, for example, opening my heart, becoming more creative and expressing my truth, having vision, connecting with the divine. So it's not really like, oh yeah, I'm the best lover. It's like really what's the purpose of the life force energy, which is our sexual energy. So for me that was fascinating because it's like, it came in hand, like I was saying, with spirituality, with food, and just right now learning so much about how my sexual energy flows in my body. It's supporting me in all levels in order to heal.
Right. Right.
So it's just not like a pleasure thing.
Right. So could you share with us an exercise that you do for using that current of your sexual energy for healing? Are there different things that you do? For instance, maybe a different breathing exercise or having a certain kind of awareness that you think would be helpful for somebody who wants to heal something?
Yeah, I feel like one of the main things I do, which I love, is dance. So let's say like put your favorite music on and just start moving your body and your pelvis and your solar plexus and just expand your chest a little bit and breathe through the mouth, because when we breathe through the mouth, we connect with our emotional body. And also the three let's say tips or precise things we have to do in order to feel and activate our sexual energies: breath, sound, and movement. Let's say you're dancing, which is the movement, which is you're like letting your energy flow through all your different chakras, through your legs and down, and have the sound, which is like the breathing. You can just like sigh of relief or like, hey, whatever your body. And have the breathing, which is going to connect you with your emotional level, and it's also going to be circulating your sexual energy through your body. So let's say you want to bring your sexual awareness into your heart. So breathe more into your heart. Or you want to bring your awareness to your tummy. Bring into your tummy, or you want to bring awareness to your yoni or vagina. Just reach way down to the vagina. So I you to experiment, just like dance for 3 minutes and just like breath, sound, and movement. And that's like the first start.
Wonderful.
Quick start.
Wonderful. I mean, you can see when you're talking about this how true it is for you and that you have experience. And so therefore you can be very generous with that, the energy that it activates, and the transmission is that much clearer because it's real for you. What would you say to people who, part of like what you're saying, like the breath, the sound, and the movement, who are a little bit self-conscious about moving their bodies or making sounds? How would you encourage them to just do it anyway?
Just notice kids. Notice your kids.
Yeah.
Simple as that. It's like, the kids, like they move around, they scream, they sing, they love to make sound, they breathe, and just breathe, and, they get excited and they breathe heavy. So that's our nature.
Exactly. It's a naturalness, isn't it? It's like we kind of make it into this thing, but actually we know it.
Exactly.
And we yearn for it.
Yeah, and then what happens is like when we come like a little older, like kids, like stop, don't do that, sit, don't breathe like that.
Right.
Or schools or teachers and that's where they start domesticating us or repressing our real nature.
Right.
So for me, it's like, wow, like these people who don't move and don't breathe and don't talk or they don't make a sound, that's what's weird, like look at the children. So
Right.
it's as easy as that,
Right.
it's like, it's a way to really just become aware it's a belief and try to experience it. If you're shy to do it in public,
Do it at home.
do it at home.
Yeah.
Do it in the shower. And maybe you're going to feel weird at the beginning, but it's a nice weirdness. It's like a discovery weirdness.
Yeah.
So after you get through that weirdness, like, and that happened to me, like, also, like, I grew up very, like, I had to be very still and very, like, proper. And I remember, like, the first times I did the exercise, I felt weird. And now I go to these Tantra festivals and I'm like, ah!
You're one of those people. Because I look at that. Sometimes I will see at these kind of events and I always think to myself, wow, how do they just feel so free to just kind of, you kind of see these at the yoga events, or if there's a guru visiting, there's always some people that'll just get up and they get very physically engaged and vocal and moving. And in the past, I've always thought to myself, where do they get that nerve? And I think it's not about the nerve, it's about the kind of unself-consciousness. You're not worrying about what people are thinking or saying. You're in the experience. You're in the moment.
And that's really also what teaches us Tantra. It's like really getting into your body, and really connecting with spirit, and so how do you want to move?
Yeah.
But do it organically, because I've also been to those where I'm like, oh, she's totally faking it.
Well, that's exactly right. And so sometimes I'm wondering to myself, well, I know all those people are going for it, but I'm not there. This music hasn't moved me, and so I can't fake do it either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to honor your authentic self.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm more expressive, and maybe, I move that way. Maybe your creative expression is more through silence or stillness.
Exactly.
Or art or singing.
Right.
Also it's about like in the Tantra, like for me it was like amazing because in meditation, like I learned how to know my thoughts, and my thought form. But with Tantra, it's like, who am I?
Wow.
And how I express myself
I love
in this world. And I'm still in the discovery phase. But it's beautiful, just that openness of like, who really am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing here? What's my real purpose?
I love it.
Who am I authentically? It's like right now even, I went to this, it was interesting. I went to this workshop. And after the second day, the teacher says, like, I was really interested because you moved every hour from one place to the other place to the other place. And the rest of the people just stay still in the same chair for 2 days.
Mm-hmm,
like, oh, I cannot do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow. So this, like, that's one of the tantric, it's like you see honoring and your body. Like, if you feel you want to yawn, if you feel you want to express yourself, or you want to stretch. Like before, I wouldn't do that in an interview. It's like, oh yeah, give me a moment. It's my body. It's so it's honoring yourself and coming back to where you were a kid. So notice your family and your kids and your nephews and your grandsons and just learn from them.
Learn from them, yes. So final question as we wrap up: what future do you belong to? What future are you excited about being a part of?
Oh my God, I don't think so much in the future right now. For me, it's like, how can I be more present with the moment and take action in the moment as if it were the future.
Right. Being in the moment as if it. And what is the moment that you are most drawn to, that you want to melt into or express or feel with?
Yeah, for me it's about like just love and compassion and energy and passion and creativity and just generosity. And every time, it's like I nourish and I love so many people and I have so many soul brothers and sisters and just connecting, serving, supporting, and also receiving, you know? So
Yeah.
It's just like, making conscious choices of whatever I'm doing at this moment, how it's affecting me and how it's affecting the world I'm living.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Karina, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your exercises and your story. You're a gorgeous woman, and I thank you for that, and I'm so glad that you're continuing to explore and share with everyone your ideas and your thoughts. So
Yeah,
thank you.
Up.
Exactly, I like that. I like being a student of life myself, I have to say.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm going to encourage everyone who've just listened to this interview to share your thoughts about yoga, your bodies, your emotions, about the kind of food that you feel creates positive energy and emotion in you, and also about Tantra. How are you integrating the different aspects of your life to create energy and passion and love and movement? Thank you all for listening, and stay tuned for more interviews. It's Navjeet here, and I'll see you all soon.